Welcome everyone. Today we have another new episode based on impact investments. Many peoples, many corporations, many organizations in Asia Pacific, they love to know more about the impact investment and other things. Today we have expert peoples on that particular points. Especially we have Svetlana. She is MD for Impact Investment Schools, Switzerland, as well as we have Mr. Banerjee. He is president of Switzerland Impact Investment Associations. So first, I want to invite Svetlana for her presentations as well as for her discussion.
Hi,
Hello,
Sharif.
how are you today? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everything's
Thank you.
fine. Yes.
Yes, thank you. You joining with us in World Talent Economy Forums, and I know you are very busy with your jobs and other works. And as you join with us, we are really, really happy, and we want to give you big thanks from World Talent Economy Forum. So hopefully, I think. Can you please introduce yourself before your presentations, so we can go after that your presentations and other things.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Sharif. It's really exciting to be part of your TV show. And let me tell you just very quickly who I am and what I'm doing. So basically, I have traditional finance background, and I've been working in traditional Swiss financial industry for many, many years. And since 5 years, I am in impact investing. Impact investing, I will tell you more about it in detail, what it is. But what I have achieved, it's we founded an NGO called Galileo International Impact Investing School, where I'm the president. We work on awareness on this topic, education, creating a platform. And I have founded also in the Impact Investing School, which works with universities, with social entrepreneurs, and it's all about making impact investing the new normal. So everyone would know what it is, how to engage, how to solve our global challenges, and to make our world better for future generations, environment, and of course, solving social issues.
Excellent, excellent. Because World Talent Economy Forum with you, because we know that sustainable development goal is very important for global community. Now we are facing COVID-19 situations. Then we have to face another challenges, maybe global warming and other things. So, hopefully, your impact investment and these sessions actually help our entrepreneurs to learn how it works, because we know we have many entrepreneurs in Asia Pacific markets. Hopefully it will be very important learning session for them, and please share your presentation with us.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm working with many social entrepreneurs and also universities, teaching students how to incorporate, how to change their businesses into impact investing. So let me share my screen just very quickly. Can you see it?
No. Share screen. Yeah.
Can you see it now?
No.
Still
You
not
can
yet.
no. You can share with this share screen. Dear audience, she is actually taking preparations for her presentations, and she gonna share with us, and hopefully we will learn many important things. Svetlana, can you hear me? I think she has a little bit of Svetlana, can you hear me? She's actually taking preparations for today's presentations. So dear audience, actually, she will join with us soon, She is actually taking preparations for her presentations, and when we she joined with us, so definitely we gonna add to hers in our sessions. Basically, she is taking preparations for one of the important discussions of impact investment, and she gonna you get a lot of informations that how actually impact investments works, how actually documentations and other things work for our audience. And Yes, dear audience, actually, we are trying to contact with Svetlana. I think she has some problem with her internet connections. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry so much. Yes, I'm back again.
Okay.
Let's try
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Let's give it
Thank you.
another try. Thanks, Sharif. Yes, I
Yes.
tried to
Yes.
share my screen with you. Um,
There is an option for share screen.
Somehow I cannot press the button to share. It's not available. Can that be?
No, you can check this share screen option.
Now, yes.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
That's great. Perfect. Then let's start. So basically, what I'd like to tell you first today, it's all about impact investing. And we start with basics, because nowadays many people misuse or don't understand exactly what impact investing actually means, mixing it up. So what we want to achieve here is to provide a crystal clear understanding for everyone what is actually impact investing and how to transform yourself from spectator to actor. I think we've presented who I am, so maybe just one more fact. I was telling you about Galileo. So you see the logo here. So Galileo is an NGO which provides accessible education. We create also a platform to connect sustainable businesses with investors. And it's a platform also for people to engage in impact investing sector and to help SDGs to realize. I'm also in the board of Swiss Impact Investment Association, which makes a yearly conference on that topic, and speaking at various conferences, universities, and so on. But now let's start with a question. So when I was creating all these activities and organization, the question was, why something so natural for any business to consider people and environment while making money is still so inaccessible in terms of education, engagement, and investment. So what I've seen that people are struggling to invest, to engage for something meaningful. They're all looking for meaningful engagement with any profession they might have. And many people would love to invest their money, pension, or some savings. And they simply didn't know how and where to go, because banks nowadays are still not very helpful if we speak about retail investors. Not speaking about ultra high net worth individuals who have much more opportunity there, but just everyone could invest $100 or $1,000 or even less, $20 into something meaningful. This is why all the organizations where I'm engaged came into reality. And so impact investing, let's now really understand what it is. If we start with a definition by Global Impact Investing Network, it is defined as investments made with intention to generate positive, measurable, and I underline measurable, social and environmental impact alongside a financial return. The market of impact investments is currently 715 billion. But when we talk about investment into companies, what type of companies are we here talking about? So basically, we are talking about social enterprises, right? And it's not any social enterprise can be considered or classified as impact investing company. In our view, they must satisfy a couple of criteria, which are, first of all, they must be financially self-sustaining. So they must stand on their own feet. It's not a charity, not philanthropy. They must create and measure impact. So the company, before it even starts, it arises from a problem or a mission at the core and want to measure impact, which they intend to create in this world. It can be social or environmental impact, but the company must have this intention. Those companies are also innovative and disruptive. So in order to combine this profit generation and impact generation, company must combine innovative tools, maybe artificial intelligence or some business concepts which before didn't exist, be very innovative in order to be impact company or social enterprise with high impact. And the last but not least, the business must be scalable. So it's not the goal that we just develop a small business in a village and stay there. No, the goal is to find solutions for global challenges, meaning that if a company is successful in a city, we can scale it up to a country, we can scale this concept maybe even to another countries, and like this we can quicker solve sustainable development goals and provide solutions. And just to remind you, always just keep the mission at the heart of the business, and then you will not be wrong from the beginning. What is impact investing not? And this is important because many of bankers or financial professionals, advisors, consultants, they are still mixing it up. So just to be very clear what it is not. So it's not philanthropy or charity. And actually impact investing arise because philanthropy and charity couldn't solve or make our world significantly better, safer, or healthier. So the private capital from impact investors must flow in order to help it out, to help philanthropy and charity to follow the missions. It is not socially inclined investment. What is socially inclined investment, first of all? Let me give you an example. A company which produces shoes in US and partially donates the profit of which the company generate to people in Africa. Or maybe they provide a pair of shoes when they sell 10 pair of shoes in US to Africa. So it has this social inclination. But however, if we drop this African social inclination, the core of the company or mission of the company is still to generate profit in US for its investors. This is why this type of companies are not classified as impact. Corporate social responsibility. Nowadays, every company has a CSR report, right? So it has nothing to do with impact investing. Responsible investing. So responsible investing was actually one of the first steps to sustainable investing, to impact investing. In responsible investing, we exclude certain industries like tobacco, alcohol, or porn industry, gambling industries out of investment scope. So, and we feel kind of relieved that we are investing with more responsibility than just simply investing in any profitable company. However, it is not yet the impact that we are looking for. So it's not impact investing. Last but not least, and I think sustainable investing is the type of investing which is mostly mixed with impact, or it's also called ESG, environmental social governance investing. So ESG is also not impact. And I will have a couple of slides on this topic so we can go to it in more details. If you look at the whole capital spectrum, we now discussed about responsible investing, right? So it's more on the right from financial only investments, which are for profit only. Then we have impact only on the very right side, like philanthropy, charity, and impact stays between sustainable and impact only investments. You must understand also that not every impact investment is the same. So some of the investments are closer to sustainable and some are closer to philanthropy. And meaning that some of the companies generate more impact but less return for investors. On the other hand, if impact investment is closer to sustainable, then they can generate market returns, but they generate less impact. What is the market of sustainable investing globally? It's around 30 trillion US dollars nowadays. But the problem is, if you check, so this responsible investing, which is also called negative exclusionary screening, it is around 20 trillion. So biggest part of sustainable investing is just based on exclusion. And if you look at impact investing, it's just 715 billion. So very small and tiny number compared to the whole market. What is needed is capital shift from negative exclusionary screening towards impact, because only then we will be able to really solve SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and create changes in our world. And one more time, what is the difference between sustainable and impact investing? The sustainable investing, here you incorporate practices like reducing CO2 emissions, reducing waste which company might produce, or gender equality. So companies hire more women, female top managers in their companies. However, the core of the business, again, we come to this, it is profit generation. Nowadays, you have Apple, Microsoft, they're all sustainable investing. But again, you will not die without iPhone. Maybe some people will, but actually you will not. So it is not solving the global challenges, but it's called sustainable investing. It creates broad impact, if you want. And impact investing goes deeper. It's digging for impact and disrupting whole industries. It has a mission, and it solves our problems which we created on the planet. A little bit of history, and I think it's very exciting because those who study finance, they really can follow this path. But before 1980s, when investment provided high return, everyone jumped on it because cool investment, high return, let's invest. After some crisis happened and portfolio theory came into place, then people say, okay, we must adjust investments by risk, because if an investment is very risky and provide high return, it's one thing. If investment is having also the same risk but only provide a very small return, then we go for the first investment, right? So we adjusted risk, return by risk. After 2008 financial crisis, and it was one of the strongest crises ever, what we realized that it's not enough. The risk return, it's not enough. There is something more there in the air or in the reality, it's impact. So it's a third dimension of any investment, and it can be negative. So any investment generates impact. We just didn't measure it before, we didn't care, but it's time to do so because any investment does create impact, positive or negative. How impact investing is connected to sustainable development goals. To remind you, for those, because nowadays I always still, even in my workshops or some students, they some of them don't know what are SDGs. So Sustainable Development Goals were created by United Nations in 2015, and it's goals which we like to achieve till 2030. And the goals are like no poverty, zero hunger, reducing inequality, providing quality education, saving life in our oceans, action for climate change, responsible consumption, smart cities, and so on. But basically, what impact investors are using, they use SDGs as a tool to make it clear for investors what actually, for example, a fund is trying to achieve in terms of SDGs. So impact themes are SDGs. You will also find a lot of funds putting one or two or several SDGs on their presentations, and it makes life of investors easier to understand. Okay, I am more into climate action, so if it's about poverty reduction, maybe it's not the right investment for me. It's also very convenient in terms of impact measurement, because United Nations provide a very useful tool also to how measure impact. To show you also that impact investment opportunities are not only limited to private equity. It was like that in the beginning, so it's a rise from private equity. But nowadays, impact investing, and it's also stated by many experts, it said it's not an asset class, it's an approach which can be done through all asset classes like cash, fixed income, hybrid, real assets, and of course, private equity. What's also happening that many families are transforming their whole investment portfolios into impact investment because it can be diversified through asset classes. Performance. As I said, impact investment can generate zero to market returns depending on where we stand, closer to philanthropy or closer to sustainable investing. And before, there were many discussions about can impact investing reach market returns, or can impact investing indeed provide impact that they promise? And as we see from the source Global Impact Investing Network, indeed, financial performance is mostly met in 76% cases, and they're even outperforming in 15% cases. The same for impact performance, mostly it is met. So, and if you checked financial markets during COVID in March, they dropped around 30% or more. In comparison to impact investments, they either didn't drop or were influenced very little. So this shows that we indeed have positive performance and better than in traditional markets. Market players. And this is just to show you that there are plenty, many around the world. They are accelerators, they are private investors, they are institutional investors, foundations, governments, corporations, they are consulting firms, communities, and so on. A lot is going on there. And what I see is the issue is that this colorful community is not yet united. So we have a lot of initiatives, but somehow we fail to make the whole market more efficient. So the capital would flow from investors to projects in a more efficient way. So that also greenfield projects would get their funds much easily, that also some growth businesses would get their capital very quick, so they could grow and solve the issues of the world. Because there is enough of capital, there are enough of initiatives and innovations. It's really that the market players are yet not that united, that we are failing to complete SDGs. But I believe we will do, because we are really on the great path and impact investing market is growing exponentially. So why to involve private capital, right? Impact investment, because over last decade and even century, we've seen that we cannot give this responsibility to the governments, charities, and philanthropy. They cannot solve this alone. This is why more people need to get engaged, have the opportunity to invest and to create these projects. And we see impact investments as investments that support solutions to global challenges. About Switzerland, even in Switzerland, we have some challenges which we are facing, and it's in most countries what we see, that awareness is not yet there. Many people still don't know that impact investing exists. Accessible education. I've been studying at the University of Zurich, and it's not that long time ago. However, we never ever had the chance to learn about impact investments. Nobody told us. I discovered it after finishing my studies. And nowadays, still, there are no obligatory lectures on the topic, which I think there must be. So this is why we've aimed to provide accessible education that people, students, whoever wants to learn would have the opportunity to learn. Maybe a pricing example from Oxford, where I've been in 2017, it was £5,000 for 5 days, extremely expensive. However, they increase the price by 1,000 every year, and now I think it's £7,000 for 5 days. Who can on earth afford that? So if we talk about impact, I think we also need to make it accessible. This is why our initiatives with Impact Investing School and with Galileo International Impact Investing Center. And the last is to create impact investment opportunities. As I said, if someone wants to invest, it must be easier. It doesn't matter if it's a project, if it's a fund on impact. it's still quite challenging. Right, so I talked about challenges, maybe just a few more which I didn't mention. It's about impact measurement. There are tools, but the projects which are new in this industry are struggling with that. And also the lack of enabling policies. There's a lot going on that in European Union, in Switzerland, but it's quite slow. So I would suggest to policymakers to be more active and to implement those enabling policies quicker, because it would really be helpful for financial markets to redirect themselves into impact. The future looks actually very bright, and it's projected that we will arrive 1 trillion by the end of this year and 40 trillions by 2030 or even more. This means that actually to solve SDGs, so Sustainable Development Goals, it's very possible. So it's not just a dream that impact investing could help it, but it's really possible. How? Not by just meditating, even though I'm also a yoga teacher on the side, and I also love meditate. But we need to transform ourselves from spectator to actors. This would really help to transform our planet for a better place for future generations, to save our environment, and to help people solving their social issues. And at the end, to really concretize, I'd like to give you some successful impact business examples so you can see, okay, what are those companies? Very briefly. So one of the companies is Project Neff House from Australia. They produce houses out of plastic. And we have more than enough plastic on this earth. The amazing is that they can build it up in 3-5 days. It's hygienically perfect, because some people may think, oh, can I live in a plastic house? They, of course, transform the material in a way that it's completely healthy to live in such a house. It's hurricane and earthquake flood resistant. You have multicolors and textures. It's also 100% of grid water, sanitation, and power. And so such businesses, we need to scale them up, because this is what the whole thing is about, right? So such project must be scaled, and impact investors are those who can help to scale it and combine impact with financial return. Another company from sustainable agriculture and food industry is Choba Choba. It's founded by Swiss two young guys, and the unique thing is that, again, it's very innovative and it's revolutionizing chocolate industry. Maybe you've heard that Switzerland has a lot of chocolate, and we have also big chocolate producers who are market leaders. But what they are not doing compared to Choba Choba, the farmers which produce cocoa beans, they are also co-owners of the company. What does it mean? It means that their income is much higher. Because what happens nowadays that the ones who produce the materials, the cocoa, they get very low income, and the whole profit stays with big corporations who produce chocolate. Here is chocolate producer and cocoa producer are the same company, and they produce it in a very organic way, so no damage to the nature and no damage to your health, because in this chocolate you will find no chemicals. It's really pure organic cocoa butter and some natural flavors, and it's amazing. You can order it online as well, meaning that also the supply chain is dramatically reduced. So this is another example of sustainable agriculture and food. Renewable energy. Maybe you've heard about M-Copa. Those guys replace kerosene use with solar power. And why it is so impactful, because with innovation, like embedded GSM and mobile payment system, they made it possible that even the low-income population living in living less than on $2 per day can afford to buy such system, and so their kids can learn in the evening. Kerosene has very bad impact on health, so this can be eliminated. And like that, they have already connected more than 600,000 homes in Africa, Kenya, and Uganda. Project Turklag. This is prosthetic system for lower limb. And the unique thing is that they print those systems with printers. And they produce it out of plastic again. And the third unique thing, that it's very low price. So basically, they solve many problems with their solution, and those legs can be produced locally at very low price, meaning that a low-income population which has health problems or lacking some parts of the body, then they can live again. Because imagine if you would have no leg, I hope not, but of course, just imagine. And in low-income population, they maybe can afford just to put a piece of wood as a leg. You can see thousands of such pictures, people having piece of wood instead of their leg or hand. You cannot move it, you cannot bend it. If you need to go to the toilet, you need to put the whole leg away. So basically with this leg, people can sit down, they can walk. It's life-changing experience for those who really need that. This is why it's again high impact project. And one more last example, it's a fund, Global Strategic Capital Fund, which is close to impact investing. So maybe you remember the chart we had, responsible investing, sustainable investing, and this one is really at the end of sustainable between impact. Why? Because they select their investments very carefully, and those stocks, even though they are listed, they create amazing high impact for climate change. They invest in green technology. And you can invest in this fund from 100 francs. On the chart, you see how the fund performed during this spring when COVID happened. So the blue line is the fund, and the gray line is MSCI World, so the whole financial market. And you see how different it looks like if you invest sustainably, but really sustainably, not just greenwashing sustainably, but really with impact. A few words how impact investing school actually can help you, because I know there are many projects which are contacting us and asking, okay, we need funds for our projects, or we need funds to grow. So what we do for social entrepreneurs is checking the business plan, preparing their documents for fundraising, because impact investors, they really look at the impact side. So you need to orientate your business also in this direction, otherwise you have no chance. And then we go together with these projects for fundraising, because we have an international network from all around the world of investors who invest with impact. We also give strategic and legal advice to those companies, and of course, helping them to incorporate impact measurement. For universities and business schools, we give lectures or like half-day courses. We can also design whole program, sustainable finance or impact investing programs, business courses, how to incorporate impact into your business. Once I was giving half-day lecture or webinar at the university in Switzerland, and the students were creating their own projects, and they never heard about impact investment. They never heard about SDGs. So this is why I think it's very important that business schools and universities wake up and incorporate those lectures into their courses, because otherwise the project will have no future. In 5 years, if you didn't consider impact, it's my projection of the world, but I guess it can be right. In 5 years, if you didn't consider it, your business will be dying, because people are looking at impact. They are more aware of climate change, of other challenges. And this is why it's very important for business schools, universities to come up with this education. And of course, guiding for thesis writing this year, I'm very proud. I think I assist around 5 or so, even 7 students with their bachelor or master thesis writing on the topic of impact investing. And it's really great that we have more and more research on the topic. So we are getting there. So I'm at the end, Sharif, and happy to answer any questions. And
Yes,
here is my
thank you.
email. Yeah, here is my email if someone wants to ask me something one-to-one. And here are the websites of the companies.
Yes, thank you, thank you. This is actually very important discussions in present situations, because number one, there is a COVID situation. Many organizations need helps for growing their business and developing their business. Actually, Asia Pacific, I want to say that there are huge populations live in the Asia Pacific area, and on the other hand, let's say in Malaysia and other countries, they have a very good infrastructures and other things. So if we can make a proper bridging in between Europe and Asia Pacific, it will be very interesting area that where we can work together in
Mm.
terms of intellectual activities and consultings and other things. So there are actually huge response from audience. Humaira Tanzila, she said, "Hello everyone, welcome to the session of World Talent Economy Forum. Hope to learn a lot from the discussion. Thank you for your time." Uh, Noor Fazrin, she said, watching. Bart Ola, I think he's from Sweden. He said, "Hi, I don't know,
Yeah,
you
I
know each
know
other."
him. Yeah, we know each other. Yes.
Yes. Mohammed Shohel Rana, he said, "Hello, dear alls." And I think there are some questions. Chandra, I think he's from India. Wonderful. A good understanding of sustainable development goal is really required for many of us. Thank you so much for this episode. So they are watching you and they are really, really giving you very good feedback.
Thank
Mehdi
you.
said, "Great. I think there is a questions from audience. Can you also help me telling about public-private profitable partnership?" Mr. Chandra, he want to know from you. So yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have also experience working with public institutions, governmental institutions, and private investors. So basically, it's combination of private investments with public, and it's possible as well. We need to to see the project. We need to get more details in order to see if it's possible or not. Because nowadays there are some bonds, green bonds, or there are some solutions. From governments and private investors that if, for example, an institution would solve a certain problem and generate a certain impact, then the public institution would pay to the investor as well. So basically, it's combination of capital, blended finance. So it's
Mm.
possible, but we need to check it in more detail.
Yes, thank you. I think Mr. Chandra, he's from Nepal. Anyway,
Mhm.
another question is that how can we reduce the trust deflect among the stakeholders? So
Stakeholders, yeah.
yes.
Yes, I mean, this is, I think it's about human consciousness. You know, it's evolving, and it's you see that impact investing industry is much more based on trust. However, it is still about business, and some people are also not trusting, which is okay, because there are still also some people which don't behave very properly in misusing impact. So I can understand that certain mistrust is there. How can we reduce it? I think if we realize that we don't have so much time, that we realize that actually only if we work together, we can create real impact, we can scale the businesses up. Uh, and we need to trust each other. We are humans. It's exploring our human greatest potential. You know, at the heart, we are all very nice people. I believe in that, and which are trustable.
Mhm.
But sometimes profit, when it goes into profit, some people lose their minds or still believe, okay, without profit they cannot live. So it takes time. I think it takes time, and maybe make a first step yourself. If you show your trust, someone else will respond with a trust
Yes.
from the other side. And maybe one more point. If you remember the slide I showed you, that in order to make impact investing the new normal, we need all the institutions involved. So like universities, governance, financial institutions. So they all need to make steps towards impact and show that they really mean it. And then this will encourage people to trust it again, to the politicians, to financial institutions, to banks, that it's not only about profit, but it's actually also about impact.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Ben Banerjee. Thank you for joining with us. So even there are some question actually from audience. You are also expert as an impact investors and as a consultant. So you can join with us and you can take your presentations, preparations. We can start in between few minutes your presentation as well. So there are more questions from audience. Araf Mehraz, his question is that how do investor measure impact?
Yes, it's actually the whole half-day webinar topic, but just very quickly, maybe to give you a few ideas how. So everything starts with theory of change. You can Google it. Theory of change is a backbone of impact measurement, right? So you need to measure what are your outputs, outcomes, and then impact at the end. So check impact measurement theory of change is the first of all. And also another source would be impact base from Global Impact Investing Network and IRIS. IRIS Plus is a tool which provides indicators for concrete impact teams, because if it's environment, if it's education, you don't measure impact the same. You need to have special indicators in order to measure your impact. But again, it's really big topic how to measure. Check this first and then come to our webinars on these topics.
Thank you. I just want to take last question from Abiaz Mustain for you, because Mr. Ben also do some presentations, and definitely World Talent Economy Forum actually want to arrange this kind of sessions more and more even in futures. Definitely we're going to invite Mr. Ben and you, even your colleagues in World Talent Economy Forum, because this is extremely important, because many businessmen and business organization has to learn these things. So Abiaz Mustain, he wants to know how is impact investing different from ESG?
Yeah, this is one of the most important questions, and I actually talked about that, but I'm happy to repeat. So ESG is environmental social governance criteria, which are applied in sustainable investments, right? And it's different from impact in a way that it creates broad impact. Here we're talking about waste reduction, reducing inequalities, hiring more women, reducing CO2 emissions of the company. But at the core of the business, you still have profit, which is very different to impact investment. Impact investment starts with a mission. So we want to solve one of the global challenges, SDGs, and then we build up business on it, right? So it goes one step further than sustainable investing. The sustainable investing, broad impact, impact investing, deep impact to solve our global challenges. That's the main difference.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Ben Banerjee. I think if you want to share your presentations, we can start. Yes.
Sharif, I don't have a presentation. I'll just talk.
Okay. No problem. So we just continue our discussions, because what you want to share is about this impact investment, and you have a very good understanding about the South Asians and Asian market. So what is the gap? Because example, even as a consultant, when I work with the different corporations, even I think previously you work, you do a webinar with one of the business organization. Still, there is a gap. From the corporations and the consultant like you, how we can minimize these things? What your observation? What your guidelines here?
You're asking me or to Svetlana?
Mr. Ben, yeah.
I think it's a it's a very deep question you're asking, because you're asking about the gap in this system. I'd like to go back on it. So where Svetlana basically mentioned about the details, about where we are focusing on when we are looking into impact investment. That means the business has a clear criteria, has a clear vision, has a clear mission to solve one of the SDGs. And this is a gap in understanding, which I think will come as people become more and more familiar with the term itself, about what impact investment is. I think the gap will disappear itself at this moment, because I do notice that there is a gap sometimes in different regions, different cultures, how they look into the term impact investment. And one of the issues with that is the lack of standardization. We lack a kind of global standard which would define it or make people understand what it is. So as long as we don't have a real, fully accepted, globally accepted standardization, it will be very difficult to say that there is a gap. And even if there is a gap, how to define the gap? Because everybody sees it in a different way.
Yes, yes. But this is very important. But my question is that how actually policymakers they can create more and more understanding and more better policy for this kind of impact investment, especially from the developing nations. What your advice, and what, ma'am? What's your advice? What you want to give suggestion, especially for the policymakers?
I think for policymakers, two things are very important for impact investment. One is the asset protection. So that means the protection for the investments. So there should be clear cut. One of the issues that mainly Western investors have when they invest in a emerging economy is that they are very scared about retention of their assets, about keeping their asset value. And there, the policies, if the policies are very strong, then that makes a huge difference. If the government creates a judicial law or system to protect the investment, that is very positive. Second, what the policymakers can do is encourage these kind of businesses. So if the government encourages social and environmental businesses with kind of tax benefits or institutional benefits or infrastructure benefits, these are the 2 points where I think the authorities can make a huge difference for this kind of businesses. And it will come anyway, because if the authorities don't act, which is happening, for example, even within Europe, you see, there comes a kind of difference between markets. There is a kind of market where people pay a lot of attention to environmental impact, and there is a kind of market where people do not pay a lot of attention. There is a kind of disleveling of the market. And now the governments are coming with policies and tax systems or taxonomies, which will create a kind of leveling for this market. So it will become more and more difficult for people who are producing products or services with the destruction of society or with the destruction of the environment. They will find it more and more difficult to sell their products, or it will be more heavily charged by taxes.
Thank you, sir. I want to ask a question to Madam Svetlana. Actually, you are talking about social enterprise, and especially in Asia Pacific, there are a lot of social enterprise, and they are not so big. They are actually more focused on small, medium enterprise and these kind of things. So, how actually impact investment actually helpful for this kind of organization?
So, I mean, it's all we all start small. We think big, but we all start small. And big impact companies also were SMEs. So for these companies, there are some awards where the companies can get financial help or can get some advice from experts. There are also angel investors, which are supporting small, middle entrepreneurs to help their development. So there are also some funds which invest specifically in small companies in order to to help them to grow, because a lot of times the innovation happens with the small companies, right? So this is actually the problem, because big institutional money cannot flow into those companies. So we need private capital, private investors as well, who can engage for such small companies in order to help them to develop their businesses.
Thank you. I want to take a question from Dr. Sharita Sharma. She asks you questions. Is impact investment valuable for the developing nations where people is struggling hard for day-to-day living?
Shall I answer this
Yeah.
question?
Yes.
I think she is very correct, but it's again the definition of impact investment where it comes down to. I would say impact investment is now the bread and butter, because if you don't invest in it, normal businesses do not have much future left, which are not creating any kind of impact or which are creating a negative impact. Because when I give my little talk, I'll explain to it clearly why it is going in that way. The risks are so considerably higher in a normal business, especially if it's a fossil fuel business, because I know, for example, just an example, if you look at it, the removal of poverty, where we have been working last 20, 30 years, all around in China, in Southeast Asia, it has gone very much with increasing of CO2 emission. So because as the poverty decreases, people use more and more energy, which creates more and more CO2 emission. Now we know it doesn't work. In fact, it is creating a massive destruction on many aspects, many things, which I'll talk about. But to reduce, the only way we remove poverty is that as the poverty reduces worldwide, the energy consumption will go up. And the only way to break that devil's circle is to go into renewable energy. So that means the renewable energy will fulfill the demands, the increasing energy demands of the people. So the poverty reduces. So that means it's a very clear-cut business chance for people in the emerging countries who like Mrs. Sharma says about people struggling from day-to-day living. It is true, but people have to see that even when they're struggling from day-to-day living, impactful businesses give them far more opportunity and far better future than non-impactful. And that I can give hundreds of examples, even in India and a lot of countries where people have looked into very short term and it has ended up for disaster for farmers, for people depending on fisheries and things like that.
Thank you, sir. I have another questions. Actually, there is a very good response from audience today. Hosna Ara Ferdos, I want to ask this question to ma'am. I think it's very common question, but we have to learn more. Why would we choose impact investment over standard investment?
I mean, I come from traditional finance, and it's very easy for me now to answer, because I was studying at the university at the financial crisis time of 2008. I was studying finance. I was very proud, and then financial crisis came, and everyone was blaming finance about so many disasters which happened around the world. And I was at that young age. I mean, with a question that how can I do something good with what I'm doing, with studying finance? So finance is a tool, and it must be used for the good. This is why we need impact investments, because any traditional investments, they are not viable anymore. And even nowadays, financial markets are going up. Nobody knows why. We are facing so many challenges. It's like a bubble. You cannot logically even explain why it's going up, because some trading games are going behind that. But if you look at the long term, it's not going to sustain. This is why impact investment with real value, the impact investment have a real value behind. This is why they're independent of all crises which we've seen. Take microfinance, for example. Okay, it's a small return, but it has been growing even in 2008. If you have invested there, you have your money safe, and it's even with positive return, right? So this is why impact businesses, they have value behind. they provide meaningful engagements for people as well, because I've seen a lot of frustrated people, frustrated bankers, frustrated IT people, frustrated consultants. They're all looking for meaning. We have just one life, so why don't we all engage for something meaningful, earning money at the same time and making our world substantially better for future generations? I think it's obvious.
Thank you. Mr. Ben, you have a lot of experience from around the world. But my question is that even sometimes different countries, corporations, let's say even from South Asia and other countries, they say that we are looking for more investment in green technology. But somehow investors not interested to do investment in my country. What the reason behind that? What do you think? Why investors will be like interested to invest in a country? What's the reasons? How they have to develop their policy and their infrastructures? What your advice as you are expert in macroeconomics and other things? So can you guide us, because I know many governments and corporations, let's say even they are getting providing PPP and many other projects permissions, but still they cannot solve this kind of projects. What's the reason behind that? What are your observations?
I think it's a communication gap, because there is enough funds available, and most of the major institutions, if you look in the European institutions like EIB, the European Investment Bank, or the sovereign funds, lot of pension funds, they are putting aside a lot of funds for these kind of projects. Only issue is from the other side, what they are lacking is a good projects coming through. That's the question I generally get very often, that we have funds available, but where should we invest? And on the other hand, the businesses, like you mentioned just now, from the emerging market, they are asking, we have very good ideas, very good business, but where's the funds? So I think it's a communication gap. The money is there. It's only a matter of high quality, good quality projects, businesses. And where people often forget to pay attention to is the paperwork, the documentation.
Exactly.
That's extremely important, and reporting. It has to be annual reporting everywhere, because there is already a wave of disinvestment going on worldwide. A lot of major organizations are disinvesting from a lot of what Svetlana explained earlier, this exclusion policy. So more and more funds are disinvesting from businesses which they slowly exclude. Secondly, what is coming on is the reporting is getting more and more strict, especially in the Western world. So every investment institution or every financial institution slowly has to report very clearly on the impact of their investments. So the funds are there. Only the reporting has to be there also. So that's why I say it's a matter of communication.
Excellent. You come up with a very important point, and I want to ask this question because you are very experienced. If you share your experience with us about the documentation, even when we see different kind of feasibility study and other things, and how actually different corporation getting support from your organization, like expert like Mr. Benz and Svetlana, how they can get involved with you, and especially what you are talking about this paperwork, feasibility study, and other things, how they can develop in a proper way.
I think that would be more a question for Svetlana,
Okay,
I would say,
okay.
because documentation is her expertise.
Sure. So basically, we ask, I mean, if a company is looking for funds, right? So, and we target specific audience like impact investors. So documentation is very important. What is there? And so company provides us what they have. We check it out, their pitch deck, business plans, research, financials, all the data which they have. And first, of course, on the quality of financials, it's very important, but not, it's maybe even more important, impact side. So does the company incorporated SDGs? Which SDGs have they underlined it properly? How do they measure impact? So all these questions are very important to answer, because investors are going to ask, what is your impact? And if they see just profit, it's not their business, So those kind of investors, they really are looking for impact, and you need to make it clear what kind of impact you're going to generate. As I said earlier, it can be that one investor is really into education and healthcare, the others are more on the climate change, they don't care about anything else. So you need to make it clear what is it about in your project, how you're going to measure it, how you're going to achieve the impact that you are promising to your investors. And so we are helping companies to put this all into place, and then we help them also to pitch to investors, connect them, and this is how it's rolling. And after it's rolling, then the project and the project owners, of course, they must be with shiny eyes and investing also their heart and some own money into the business in order to make it credible for investors that's really into the project.
Thank you. I think there is another question from audience. I want to take it from Mr. Ben. What is the difference between sustainable investing and impact investing? Okay.
The third time, maybe they watch a recording.
I think this question was already asked earlier. Didn't Svetlana answer it?
Okay. Issue is that there is a huge audience actually responding today, and they have a lot of questions. Maybe they are missing some point, but if you help them to connect all of the things, and definitely I request everyone, because everything is recorded in our YouTube channels and it's also live, and anyone want to know more about this impact investment and other things, you can take it from our YouTube channels, even from our WT Forums Facebook page. So yeah, so that is the things. Anyway, I want to move forward with these things. So you Mr. Ben, you are talking about that, okay, we do not have any problems with investors and other things. But my question is that in the COVID situations, every country now in challenging situations, especially economic, let's say even Malaysia, second wave coming. So but even every country has economical challenging. So what your experience, what will happen economically in next few years? And most important thing is that what area investor now focused for do investment in COVID periods, or really they are doing investment, or there are many more questions and challenges? What your observation? Yeah.
I'll start a little bit with a gloomy background, and then what COVID situation has done, basically, it has kind of speeded up the demise of the present economic system. So if you look at it, we had SARS, we had Ebola, we have COVID. These are just the beginning, and more are coming to follow up. And if you look at the frequency of the pandemics, it's getting faster. This tiny virus, COVID, wiped out, as per the World Bank, 5.2% of the global economy, 7% of the economy of the advanced countries. So what would the next pandemic do? So my point is our present economic system, can it take this kind of blows? The answer is no, it cannot. So we are working together with a couple of governments who are already working on an alternative economic system. So United Kingdom, Netherlands, Finland, even Hong Kong, they're all working on alternative system where we are working together with them, how to develop an alternative economic system which is not harmed by these kind of pandemics. And second is the exploding risk to the financial investments. So for every cent you're investing in unsustainable business is going to come back or cause higher loss. If you look at this moment, the economic damage caused by the exponentially increasing forest fires in US, in Australia, in Indonesia, who is going to pay those bills? And then why keep on investing in new oil wells or coal power stations when we know that within 5 years maximum, they're going to become obsolete, stranded assets. So they can't even pay themselves in their 20, 30 years lifetime. So why carry the carbon risk in your portfolio at all? So the appetite of the financial market is changing, like Svetlana also mentioned, the last decade. If you look at the recent news of the last week, Tesla is today the world's biggest car market. 20 years ago, nobody knew about them. And they are today the world's biggest car producer. Or you look at Exxon, which was the world's biggest company once upon a time. today has been pushed out of the Dow Jones Industrial Average because they have lost their value so severely that they are not even worth taking into system. So that means the losses are piling up very, very fast. So, and the fields that you mentioned at this moment on short term, where I think the impact investment is very interesting, or where impact investment is compensating, is supply management, is agriculture, and alternative energy. All these three are at this moment doing booming. What Svetlana mentioned, that by the end of this year, we will have 1 trillion in impact investment. We have already crossed 800 billion during the COVID time. And if you also look at the MSI, most of the impact funds and impact businesses are far outperforming the world global MSI standards. So the whole question is, which side will you take? Will you take the side of the winners or the side of the losers?
No, there is another things that always come, because in WTO forums, in previous discussions from USA, like some of the corporate people, when they join and when they discuss about the policy of impact investment and other things, they said now this impact investment and this kind of business actually biggest political issues. If you are talking on behalf of oil and gas and coal projects, you are Republicans. If you are talking on behalf of green technologies and other things, you are
I know,
Democrats.
but
Yes. So, yeah.
US is unique in that this discussion, because I was also part of this discussion some time back. Problem is, in Europe, impact investment is booming. In Asia, it is booming. All over the world, it is booming. US is the only country which is so deeply polarized that if you say anything about nature or environment, you are a left-wing extremist. But what I would like to add a warning to it, that it is Washington, it's not US. In many ways, US, if you look at California, if you look at Florida, the other states, they are doing really good. So they are far more, the Silicon Valley, or they are far more impactful, busy. Hollywood, the stars, they're far more doing than Washington. So just ignore Washington. And Washington is just few people who believe global warming is a cool thing. Yeah, exactly.
And actually, to add to this, this global impact investing network, it is in US, and US was one of the leading countries in terms of impact investment development. They have a lot of accelerators, much more educational programs at the universities and business schools. Just after last election of the president, it's kind of changed the communication to the outside world, but still it's quite developed compared to many countries, even in Europe. So US is not in lacking behind so much.
Yeah, and I mean, just an example, when Trump won the election, I think there were when he pulled out of the Paris Agreement, there were 24 US cities who had ratified the Paris Agreement. Today, it is more than 350. So Paris Agreement has been ratified by US cities and US states. So even Washington, by the way, if you look at the state of Washington, they have also ratified the Paris Agreement. Just the White House is a unique specimen.
Communication.
Yeah, exactly. So it depends on how you define US. But yes, what you're saying is correct. It's severely polarized, and that is a worrying factor. But despite of whatever goes on, I mean, I just gave the example. Both the companies, Tesla and Exxon, are US companies. And despite of Trump saying whatever he's saying, Exxon is out. And despite of what Trump may be saying, Tesla is in. So that proves my point.
Yes. No, this is very interesting. But beside that, let's say like impact investments, even developing nations. What I want to share, let's say, a few days ago, I observed a report from Bangladesh that Bangladesh government also giving opportunities to the exporters, those who are exports and those who are get a very good revenue from the other countries, they can invest in the other countries. Like I think 60% of their revenue they can invest in the other countries as well. So in that situation, let's say you are a professional consultant. So what your advice to them, like this kind of businessman, what area they should focus? Let's say I'm in Malaysia. When I saw different business organizations or business people, they come to Malaysia and other things, they are looking for how they should focus on business, what area they should invest, or is there any scientific process? is there any good forum they can join and they can learn? What your guidelines?
I mean, I think that is depends on, like Svetlana mentioned, on the SDGs, which angle the investor is interested in, where their focus is. There are more than enough forums. Like the coming tomorrow day after is a forum in India that is called Impact Investing. In India, in Impact Invest something. We ourselves also have a forum on 26, 27 October here in Zug. And this is the first time this is our fifth time, and this time we are also doing it on webinar because of the COVID situation. So there is enough where investors can find businesses and businesses can find investors. And that is the forum. But on the other hand, if there are businesses who are looking for investors or investors who are looking for businesses, and they think, especially if they think that they are looking for something impactful, or the business thinks that they are doing something impactful, they can always contact us.
Thank you. Madam Svetlana, I want to ask you a question because previously we do some sort of webinar with this women empowerments and how women can be more involved with different kind of business and other things. What your advice for them, especially women empowerment, how economically they can more engage with economical activities, social business, even they are trying to involve, but I do not know what does the GDP meanings and other things. You are more expert because they do a lot of household work in developing nations, and they have engagement with different economical aspects, but somehow GDP do not convert this kind of micro initiative of the women. So what do you want to share? Because if you see our webinar, especially based on the women empowerment and other things, I think in this situation, I think we need to seriously count on women empowerments and glass ceiling issues and other things. How do you want to explain this point?
I mean, it's you must imagine I was in the man's world when I was working in Swiss financial industry at a bank, right? And it's not always, it hasn't been always easy to be a woman. But I must say, as a woman, you need to realize you have certain qualities which the men just simply don't have. And this is why Ben is laughing, but it's true. And we now see in the world also much more women taking leadership positions around the world in very influential companies. And so I really want to encourage all women to kind of believe in themselves, in their strengths, and go for it, it's and I also work actually at a couple of projects on women empowerment, and it's very important to realize those projects which are currently out there for exact those reasons, because without woman, without female power, and if I may, I can also connect it with yoga, yin and yang, hatha, sun and moon. I mean, we all are connected. So men are also must realize that when they have women in a team, it's working better. And it has been scientifically proven as well, right? So to empower women, the men must be involved. It's very important that men are involved, that they realize that it's needed, right? Because very strong women can overcome those obstacles, but some of them will not without the support. This is why policies inside of companies are needed, or some awareness work in simple cases. Also awareness of those problems also help. So some NGOs are doing awareness work with masculine population in order to help female power to flourish. Yeah, let's say that. But as a person, I would really say to all women which are watching us right now, go for it, go for your dreams. You are knowledgeable. You just have too much doubt sometimes about yourself, Even for job application, it's also very funny. Men are applying for the jobs they want, even if they don't have the qualifications. females, they check, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, right? And so they don't apply, even though they may be much more qualified. So overcoming this as a person and doing what you really want to do in this world. So I empower everyone, every female watching us right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Yes.
would just like to add to it that if you look at Southeast Asia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, they had women prime ministers much, much more ahead than the Western world. US still has to see one. So, so
Okay.
you guys have advantage.
Russia is
Yeah.
well, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. This is actually a different history. I think the prime ministers is not enough for women empowerment,
Yeah.
and still there are many example and other things, and I think we need to work on that. Okay, there is a specific questions from two audience. Mr. Alok, he's asking. I think Mr. Ben can give this answer. Is impact investment good in the carpet waving industry, which give livelihood to lack of weavers in eastern part of Uttar Pradesh in India and caters in global markets?
Yes, definitely yes. But it depends on how you grow it. Because this weaving industry has two major issues to my knowledge, although this is not my sector, I don't know too much about it. One is that there's too much color and dyes being dumped in the water, which is creating a natural hazard. So that is one issue that has to be checked. Secondly, is the usage, how the weaving is working, the usage of chemicals, and are they using circular? So if they're using circular economy, I hope I don't have to explain what is circular economy here, but if they're using products which can be recycled, then definitely yes, then impact investment will be very strong. But if they keep on just producing as they have been producing now and dumping chemicals and things in the water, in the river, then it will not work. So I know I'm asking too much because I'm not on the ground level and I don't have all the data of the ground reality. But I think it is a business with a future. But people do have to become more and more conscious about a couple of aspects about the sustainability and the circular economic angle of it.
Yes, I understand. Okay. Beside that, as you are economist, you are policymakers. What is your prediction next 3 to 5 years? What will happen? Even we are actually living day-to-day lives. I understand that now predicting next 2 3 years is very difficult, but you are a scholar, that's why I'm asking that.
May I just advertise Ben for that, because he has done a lot of predictions for many years, which realized most of them. So be careful what is he saying now. It might be indeed realized. So go ahead, Ben.
Yes.
So, so, thanks for the encouragement. Yeah, it is true that since 1992 I have been doing that, and I have till now never been wrong. So that's why I was also involved with the US presidency. I have been advising a lot of governments and political leaders on this topic. So to just stay focused on impact investment will just grow. It is growing, and it will grow much faster than what has been initially calculated. Economically, I don't have a very positive view, because I think we are heading towards one disaster after another. Our credit level is very bad. I'm not only talking about emerging market, I'm also talking about advanced economies. We are in a very serious debt situation. So, and what Svetlana mentioned also once in her speech somewhere in the beginning about the de-link between the financial economy and the real economy, and that really worries me, because if you look at US, there's so much unemployment, there is so much bankruptcies, it's crazy, but the financial market is just going on. So, and this de-link is going to crash, and once this crashes, who does end up solving this? It's not the financial economy who's going to solve this. It's the normal taxpayers who have to take the whole blow. And that worries me, because this is absolutely not so. Unless the financial economy corrects itself, it doesn't have much future. So I would seriously advise to start disinvesting as much as possible from the financial economy, and disinvest from fossil fuel based economies or industries. It doesn't only mean driving a car with diesel, but it also means other sectors of the economy which are fossil fuel based.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, but the question is that different countries, they have a lack of resources. They have strong engagement with even different foreign countries and the big countries for developing different kind of projects. So in that situations, actually, how actually this impact investment or these green technologies can be helpful for them. Let's say I can take as a model, let's say Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. Okay, what's your observation?
Um, there are a couple of things. Number one is so how can a emerging market, because it's already happening. There is a lot of impact investments going into the alternative energy in Nepal, in India. So that is happening, but still it is in an extremely small scale.
Mhm.
So that is from the part of the emerging market, that the emerging market has to kind of speak out more louder, saying that we need energy, we need money here, 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 or we need these and these projects. But on the other side, on the investment side, because I'm also the board of CLC, the Climate Leadership Coalition, where we developed the Green Deal, which European Union passed on, where they put aside a massive amount of money to make Europe carbon neutral by, I think, 2050 or something like that. There's a huge funds available in the Green Deal, and now we are working on the implementation of the Green Deal. So there is going to be more and more funds made available. That's second. And the third part where we are looking very strongly, but we haven't been able to implement it yet, is to make the companies or the businesses who are emitting the CO2 pay more kind of tax or kind of fine, or like the CO2 trading or whatever. They make them pay for the businesses which are not doing it, because that's still not happening. We do not have the real valuations yet. Our fossil fuel is heavily subsidized, whether in the emerging market and whether in the advanced economies. To take away these subsidies and make the defaulters pay, but
Mhm.
that will take some time to implement.
Mhm. Thank you. For Mr. Anyway, there is a common question. I think anybody can give this answer. Araf Mehraj, his question is that $23 trillion private investment is needed for climate smart projects in emerging market alone to combat climate change. Is it possible to collect this amount of private investment?
Do you know how much of it is compared to the global economy? It's less than
Okay.
1%.
Okay. Okay.
Basically, Mr. Mahariz answered the question. It's not that the amount of money we need
Mm-hmm.
to solve the global problem is really nothing compared to the amount of money we have. I
Oh.
mean, but it's only thing we are missing is the motivation and incentive. I mean, just look at it. I mentioned earlier, we lost 5% of the global economy with one tiny little virus, which is created by our own way of life.
Mhm.
So, so the amount of money needed is really nothing. 23 trillion is less than 1% of global GDP.
Now you come up with a very interesting point that we have lack of communication. That's why we want to arrange this kind of even I know that you are arranging summit, conference, and different kind of activities. Even if you want to share with our audience, definitely we're gonna explore it as much as possible, because I think there is a lacking. It's really, there is a communication gap, there is a knowledge gap, and people do not understand, or businessmen do not understand that what they have to go, what they should do. Especially you come up with the idea of documentation. Yes, I agree with you, documentation is a serious problem. And most important thing is that yes, we need a good policy. And I think definitely in a good policy, people like you, you need more, I think, involvement when different government developing their policy and other things. This is very important. So I know you, all of you are very busy. So beside that, what is the concluding remarks for today? So I want to start with Savitlana, then Mr. Ben.
Mhm. Yes, concluding remarks. I mean, it's very simple. Again, the message that we have all all the resources available, the financial resources and innovation. we need to connect it. So it's possible. I truly believe it's possible. And this is why I engage everyone to become from spectator to an actor, because a lot of people are still observing how it's going to be, but you must get on the boat now, otherwise you will be left behind. And there is a quote that we have this unique chance to live right now, right here on this planet, and I think it's a message for everyone to act now. So action is very needed here.
Thank you, Mr. Ben.
Yeah, I will just quote, I forgot the name of the French Minister of Finance who said it, I think last year or something, that in the future we will either have green money or we will have no money at all.
Okay.
So what I would like to say is increase the awareness, really ask everybody, ask your government, ask your authorities to make policies to protect investors and encourage impactful businesses, because more and more funds are coming available and more funds are already here. And if you're a businessman or if you're an entrepreneur, start selecting real business issues which are valid for your country, for your region, and which answer to or which solve a certain social and environmental problem. And just invest a little bit in your own business and also in the real documentation. And the funds are here.
Thank you. This is really good session, especially very valuable session for Asia Pacific. Even in futures, we definitely gonna invite you for this kind of discussion, and we will bring more entrepreneurs and policymakers from different countries, and we're gonna invite you. Even we know that you have you have very good connections around the world, but World Talent Economy Forum's always trying to do better works with the with our community, and yes, step by step we are also growing together with our good initiative. And we have our Asia Research and Development Institute, Al Noor Academy, Sarhadia Barhads, as well as we have our World Talent Economy Forums. So we are trying to engage with a lot of people, lot of business organizations and governments. So hopefully your support and collaborations, we can do something better with your support and collaboration. Thank you for your valuable time and everything. Thank you,
Thank you, Sharif.
You're most welcome. Bye-bye, Sharif.
Bye everyone. Bye.